Claude Design is an impressive tool. In just a few prompts, you can create a landing page, a dashboard, or a mobile app. But there is one thing that drives almost everyone a little crazy: the limits. As soon as you make 2 or 3 more advanced changes, create variants, or add a section, bam, the weekly quota is reached. You have to come back in a week, and your idea starts falling behind right from the beginning. The open source community, as usual, did not waste any time. 11 days after the release of Claude Design, a project called Open Design exploded on GitHub. At the time I am recording this, it has more than 40,000 stars, and it keeps growing. It is an open source alternative to Claude Design, with more freedom when it comes to models, projects, and iterations, but without the weekly limit that often blocks you. In this video, we are going to build a real project together from A to Z. The example we will use is MiaouBox, a monthly subscription box with natural treats and toys for cats. I thought it was a good visual example. We will generate the e-commerce landing page, the admin dashboard to manage subscribers, and even the mobile app for customers. All in the same session, in the same style. And at the end, we will put the website online. Whether you are on Mac, Windows, or Linux, whether you have a paid Claude subscription or not, whether you have never touched a command line in your life, do not worry, I will explain everything simply. Before we start installing anything, let's take a quick minute to understand the tool. Open Design is an open source project under the Apache 2.0 license. Basically, that means you can use it for free, and you can even use it for commercial projects. No fees to pay, no permission to ask for. The interface looks about 90% like Claude Design. You get the wireframe and high-fidelity modes here, your project history, and exports. However, Open Design brings 3 major new features. First, you choose your AI model. You can connect Claude, GPT, Gemini, or often cheaper alternatives, sometimes even free depending on the tool you use, such as DeepSeek, Kimi, Qwen, or GLM. Then, you have more than 70 preloaded design systems: Apple, Airbnb, Stripe, Nike, PlayStation, Linear. If you click one of these names, your project adopts the corresponding aesthetic. In Claude Design, you had to describe everything in the prompt. Finally, Open Design does not use your Claude Design quota. I think this is the most important point in the video. You use the quota from your Claude subscription with a session limit that resets every 5 hours. So you are not blocked by the weekly quota specific to Claude Design, and you can usually iterate for much longer without waiting a full week. We will look at the consumption comparison later. But first, let's install the tool. If you know how to copy and paste a few commands into the terminal and read what appears on screen, that is more than enough. There are 2 or 3 tools to install once, and after that, you are good to go. We will need Node.js, which allows Open Design to run on your machine. Then PNPM, which installs the elements required by the project. Then Git to retrieve Open Design from GitHub. And optionally, VS Code. It is not required to follow the tutorial because we will mostly use the terminal and Open Design in the browser. But it is useful if you want to open the project, see the files, or make a few manual adjustments. Small side note: once your website is created, you will need hosting so visitors can access it. For that, we will use LWS at the end of the video. Use my exclusive promo code OPEN to get 15% off hosting plans. Let's start the installation. I am on Mac, but the steps are almost identical on Windows and Linux. I will mention the small differences as we go, or I will put them in the description. Step 1. Install Node.js. To do that, go to nodejs.org. Click the download button. Be careful. At the time I am recording this, Open Design requires version 24. I am installing the latest version for those who already have it, so I can show you how to switch to the correct version later. It has detected my Mac correctly. I download the installer, and I launch it. Click Next 3 times, and that's it. To check that it is installed properly, open the Terminal app on Mac or Windows. I type node-version. If you see a version number, you are good. Otherwise, restart your computer and try again. Step 2. Install PNPM. Still in the terminal, copy and paste the line of code I put in the document in the description of this video, and press Enter. This is the official PNPM script. On Windows, it is a different command. You can also ask an AI to guide you if my document is not enough. For me, it is different again because I have an older Mac. Once it is done, close the terminal and open a new one. This is important, otherwise PNPM will not be recognized. Then check PNPM --version. If you see a version number, you are good. Step 3. Install VS Code. It is not mandatory to launch OpenDesign, but I recommend it if you want to explore the project files or make adjustments later. Go to code.visualstudio.com. Download it. Install it. That part is very simple. Step 4. Retrieve OpenDesign. Close the terminal, then open it again. If you already have a Node version more recent than 24, no problem. I have version 26. We are going to install NVM, which allows you to manage several Node versions on the same computer. Then enter these two commands: nvm install 24, nvm use 24. We are now on version 24. Next, we retrieve OpenDesign with git clone. This creates an OpenDesign subfolder. We enter it. cd open-design. I install PNPM. PNPM install. If you get a PNPM version error, do not panic. Update it with this command. I also put it in the description. Close the terminal. Open it again and type these commands. This message is just next.js collecting anonymous data. You can ignore it. Everything is ready. Now let's go to our localhost URL. Here we are. OpenDesign is now open in the browser. Small clarification. If you close the terminal, OpenDesign stops. To launch it again later, you do not need to reinstall everything. I put the single command in the description. Now let's see how to choose the AI model that will work behind the scenes. We are in the Local CLI tab. OpenDesign automatically detects all AI tools already present on your PC or Mac. Here, it does not detect my Claude Code because it is not installed on my machine. I open a new terminal window so I can leave PNPM dev running in the other one, and I type these commands. I leave this window running, and I go back to OpenDesign to click Rescan. Claude Code is detected properly. Let's spend 2 seconds on the model choice. Here we have the list of all compatible agents. I have Claude Code installed, so it appears first. If you have Claude Pro or Max, choose Claude Code. It is the best one for design, and your quota resets every 5 hours. That is what I use. If you have ChatGPT Plus, choose Codex. You just need to install it. And if you want to do this for free, you have OpenCode, Gemini CLI, or DeepSeek in the list. If you can spend €20 on Claude Pro, I recommend doing it, because you will reach the quota less quickly. Claude's Opus model is still ahead in terms of visual quality. I close the modal. Note that you can change models during a project. You can start with Claude for the base, then switch to a free model for iterations. That saves your quota. One last thing, in the video, I switched the interface to French because this was originally recorded for the French channel. Before creating my full project, I wanted to do a concrete test. Give exactly the same brief to Claude Design and to OpenDesign. Then compare both the result and the consumption. For that, I'm using a fake brand for a desk setup configurator for remote work, gaming, or content creation. It is deliberately a fairly complete brief because this is the kind of situation where you quickly see the limits. As soon as you add several screens, variants, or a few corrections, consumption rises very quickly. Claude Design is very effective at producing a clean first version quickly. OpenDesign requires a bit more setup at the beginning, but its advantage is that you can iterate for longer with Claude Code, without being blocked as quickly. So the real test is not only which one creates the best looking design, it is mainly, with the same brief, which one allows me to go further. Ready? Let's create our project. In OpenDesign, click New Prototype. For the design system, you have plenty of choice. There are dozens of them: Airbnb, Shopify, Notion, Duolingo, or creative styles like warm editorial, which fits our MiaouBox universe well. You can also select None by default and let OpenDesign interpret your brief freely. That is what I am doing here. For the platform, I select Responsive Web. That way, the website automatically adapts to mobile and desktop. At the bottom, I make sure to select High Fidelity. This is what gives a clean result from the first draft instead of a gray wireframe. However, I forgot to mention this earlier, but log in to your Claude account. I open a new terminal tab and type Claude. Press Enter. I authorize it. Now I can click the Create button. We are now in the chat interface. It suggests examples for inspiration, but we're going to write our own brief. This is really the most important step. A good prompt is 80% of the result. I give it the project brief, the name, the target audience, the style, the sections we want, the effects, and the intention. The more precise it is, the better the result will be. But you can also leave it completely free. I send the prompt. OpenDesign will probably ask you a few questions. Answer them to guide the result. There we go. For the typography, I choose the serif and sans serif mix. It is the recommended option, and it gives a result that is both elegant and readable. For the logo, I choose wordmark text. That means it will create the name MiaouBox in a graphic style using code. No need to provide a file. For the hero visual, that is the big image or illustration at the top of the page, I choose the handcrafted SVG illustration with the cat and the box. For conversion, I choose both options, an email form right at the top of the page and subscription buttons in the plans. And in full French, I send it. The generation takes several minutes. You can follow the steps in real time in the chat while it runs. Step 4. Observe. When it is finished, for me it took 13 minutes. I look at the result in full screen. For a first draft, it is solid. The color palette is respected. I have a warm landing page with a nice headline and well-structured sections. It even managed to create a vector illustration of the cat. The title is a little too discreet. It lacks punch. We will refine all of that. I have a large IMAX screen, so the margins look very wide. On a standard screen, it will be different. Do not rush into corrections. Scroll through the whole page calmly. Identify what you like, what does not work, and what is missing. Write down your comments because we will use them in the next step. Small break. If this video is helping you, remember to leave a like. It helps us know whether this type of tutorial is useful to you. And to make sure you do not miss the next videos about AI, the web, and hosting, you can also subscribe. If you have a question, an issue, or a project idea to test, leave it in the comments. We read everything. Alright, let's continue. Here is a little-known tip that changes everything. When OpenDesign generates a first website for you, do not jump straight into modifications. Instead, ask it to suggest several radically different variants of the same project. It will use a bit of your Claude quota, but it can save you 3 hours of modifications in the wrong direction. There may be a visual direction you had not thought of, and it might be 10 times more aligned with your project. You cannot know without seeing it. OpenDesign suggested 5 directions for me. The Parisian secret garden style with fine lines, large italics, and a chic florist atmosphere. The clean Japanese studio style with a touch of indigo. The fine grocery style with a craft background, condensed typography, and pine green. The illustrated pop style made of colorful and cheerful illustrations. And the luxury style with a dark background, golden serif, and premium gift box atmosphere. I chose secret garden and illustrated pop. One more refined, the other more joyful. 2 directions opposite to the original. Both websites generate in parallel. There we go. The secret garden theme. And illustrated pop. And the old one is still there. Just to create these versions, I used about 50% of my Claude quota, which resets every 5 hours. Fortunately, this is not the Claude Design quota over 7 days, because otherwise the creation process would already be over for this week. In the end, even though the variants are interesting, I prefer to keep the original version. This is the one I will use as the base for the rest. I make it very clear in the prompt that I want to continue with the original version. Okay, now you have your favorite variant. If you want to test settings and you do every micro change with a prompt, you will use your quota very quickly. Tweaks are a good solution. These are settings that appear in a panel next to the design. You can test color palettes, enable dark mode, modify fonts, text sizes, buttons, spacing, or manage the intensity of animations. To generate them, I ask it for a fairly complete settings panel for the page. I put the prompt in the description. Generating the panel uses a bit of quota, but after that I can test lots of visual settings without launching a new prompt for every detail. However, depending on the generations, some tweaks may only be temporary. Check after refreshing the page. If they do not remain applied, simply ask OpenDesign to lock them into the overall website design. The page is already clean. I am just going to make one targeted prompt to add what is really missing from a real e-commerce page. Without changing the style, I ask it to add a more visual section about the current month's box. Improve the existing testimonials section with a photo gallery of customers and their cats. I also want it to correct the header and footer links. And since some of them go nowhere, it needs to create the contact, legal notice, privacy, terms and conditions, and cookies pages. No customer account or dashboard yet, we will see that later. And we keep the current visual consistency. The tasks are finished. I can see that the blocks have been added properly. I can see the content of the June box. It is concrete and attractive, and it even generated the vector diagram. The section below deserves a bit more margin inside the white blocks. I will show you how to modify that. For the testimonials, I now have customer photo placeholders. For now, they are rather amusing little generated vector images. We have a page that is more concrete, more visual, and the links are now usable. The AI also created the pages I requested, like the contact page. I will need to add my real email address and make sure it works technically. It even has predefined message topics. It is even more complete than I expected. The legal pages, such as the legal notice, are also created. This is useful to save time, but obviously for a real website, you will need to replace the texts with your real information. The website publisher, the hosting provider, here for example, LWS. Same thing for the page about the cookies used. The privacy policy. And the terms and conditions of sale if you sell something on the website. Modifying a specific element on the website without using AI is possible. For example, I can ask it to make the text in this button white. I click the Edit button. It is the first block here. I can see the subscribe link in the content. You can modify the color and other settings here. But you will need to code a little to specify that it is only this text in the subscribe button that I want to modify. We are not going to bother with that here. I will simply tell Claude to make the text in the subscribe button in the header white, but not the other links in the header. And there is no need to use such a powerful AI model for this simple request. Done. Let's check. It is now white. To modify the margins of this block, it is the same idea. Either I do it manually by specifying the margins I want in the editing interface, or I ask the AI very precisely what I want to do. It is this block here. I click it. I go to the Style tab, and I add padding, some margin inside the block. 20 pixels, for example. I apply it. There we go. It worked. I do the same for the others. You can also check and modify your website on tablet and mobile. Do not hesitate to ask the AI questions to go faster. At this stage, the landing page is already clean, but there is still one little thing missing to give it a more premium look, less like a page generated by AI. And for that, we can look for ready-made components. I'm going to show you an example with the website 21st.dev. You find a video component you like. I'm going to take this component to add a video block just below the main banner. I click Copy Prompt. For the video, I will use a temporary kitten video found on pexels.com, while waiting to have a real MiaouBox video showing the content of the box. In OpenDesign, I paste the prompt from 21st.dev, and I simply add these instructions to place the video component in the right location. I tell it to use the video I want, add the text, and adapt the block to the MiaouBox style. And there we go. Once the generation is finished, OpenDesign adds the video section to the page. Depending on the result, it may appear just below the first section. You can repeat this process for a testimonial section with an animated carousel, a gallery of visuals from past boxes, a comparison module for the subscription plans, or a transition animation between sections. Mixing OpenDesign with 21st.dev blocks can really improve the result, as long as you keep a consistent visual direction. Let's say the showcase website is finished. Now I am going to show you that OpenDesign can be very powerful for serious projects. You can generate a coherent dashboard from your landing page without starting from scratch inside the same project. Do not create a new project, otherwise you may lose the visual consistency. You simply go into the chat of the same project and launch this prompt. I ask it for an admin dashboard in the same project, with the same palette and the same typography. Small important clarification. Here, we are creating a dashboard mockup, not yet a real secure back office. In a real project, this dashboard will need to be protected by a login with access rights. And you must never expose real customer data publicly. Here, the goal is to create the interface in the administration experience. When the dashboard appears, I mainly check 3 things. Are the colors consistent with my sales page? Is the data readable? And do I like the overall result? This is already the kind of deliverable you can show to a client to validate a graphic direction. Bonus tip: go back to 21st.dev to look for components specifically for dashboards. Tables with sorting, animated charts, KPI cards with micro interactions. You can integrate them like we did for the landing page. Last building block of the project, and probably the one that impresses me the most with OpenDesign. We are going to generate a mobile app dedicated to MiaouBox customers. Still in the same project, I write this. I ask it for a real customer experience, not just the website reduced into a phone version. I want 5 screens: my box, my subscription, my cat, the community, and the profile. And most importantly, I specify clearly mobile navigation, touch interactions, separate screens, and consistency with the landing page and the dashboard. Here is the result after several minutes of generation. It is a great base that seems intuitive for subscribers to my box. Here too, an important clarification. OpenDesign will generate a mobile mockup or a mobile web prototype. It is not yet a real app published on the App Store or Google Play. For that, you would then need a PWA, a real database, customer authentication, or dedicated mobile development. But to visualize the customer experience, it is already very useful. As for quota, it obviously depends on the model you choose and the number of tokens used. But the idea remains the same. With OpenDesign, you can go much further than with a blocking weekly quota. For now, our project is running locally, so if I close OpenDesign, nobody can see the website. Before exporting, I am going to ask OpenDesign to prepare a clean version of the project. The idea is to keep only the final version of MiaouBox, the landing page, the admin dashboard, and the mobile app screens. The variants I did not keep will not be published. As we saw, everything does not have the same role. The landing page can be public, but the dashboard and the mobile app are still demonstration prototypes here. For a real project, you will need to add login, access rights, real data, and security. I also ask it to check the links, images, assets, and the video used in the 21st.dev section. Once again, the link to the recap of the prompts I entered is in the description. Once the project is clean, I retrieve the export from OpenDesign. Depending on the version, you may have different exports, such as an HTML export or a zip file. The goal is to get the website files, the index.html file, the generated pages, the images, the CSS, the JavaScript, and the assets. Then I go to my LWS customer area in the LWS panel. I manage my ordered hosting plan, which is available at this address. And I open the file manager for my hosting. The easiest way is to import the zip directly. Then extract it into the website folder, htdocs, or the folder associated with another domain or subdomain. If you prefer using FileZilla, you can also extract the zip on your computer, then upload the files by FTP into the same folder. Once the files are uploaded, I test the domain in the browser. If your domain name and hosting plan were purchased together at LWS, the domain is already connected to the hosting. And the free SSL is automatically enabled to switch the site to HTTPS. I first check the landing page. Then I test the links to the dashboard and the mobile screens. And there we go. The MiaouBox prototype is online. It is not yet a real connected store with payment, customer accounts, secure login, and a database. But it is a presentable version accessible from a link. Perfect for showing the project to a client, a team, or an investor. Later, if MiaouBox becomes a real store, we could add Stripe, a database, a customer area, real authentication for the dashboard, or transform the mobile experience into a PWA or a real app. But to start, the idea is simple. Publish a first complete version, then let the project evolve as it grows. Before concluding, I have a few quick tips. Keep your best prompts in a separate file, because a good reusable prompt saves a huge amount of time. Watch your quota if you use Claude Code, especially when you ask for variants or several screens. And if you want to go into production with payment, customer accounts, or a database, have the code reviewed, or use a specialized model to check the technical part. Open Design is excellent for prototyping and designing, but it is not a security audit. That's it. We have gone through the full process. Open Design is not perfect. The project is still young. Some generations require adjustments, and sometimes you need to relaunch or correct a few details. But to quickly prototype a website, an interface, or a product idea, it is honestly powerful. If this video was useful to you, subscribe so you do not miss the next tutorials. And you, what would you create with Open Design? A store, an internal tool, an app, a side project? Tell us in the comments. It could give us ideas for the next tutorials. See you very soon on the channel.